Have you ever reached a moment in life when the silence around you felt louder than the voices of the world? Perhaps you've watched others celebrate milestones you have long prayed for while you remain in a season that seems unchanged. Maybe you've wondered if God has forgotten your prayers, or if your life is somehow moving more slowly than everyone else's. Those thoughts can weigh heavily on the heart, especially when the world constantly measures success by timelines and comparisons. But what if this season isn't a sign that you're being left behind? What if it's evidence that your life is unfolding according to a purpose far greater than you can currently see? Sometimes the most meaningful work God performs isn't visible to anyone else. It happens quietly within the heart, shaping character, strengthening faith, and preparing a person for responsibilities they cannot yet imagine. Every tree that stands strong through storms first develops roots hidden beneath the ground. Long before anyone admires its height, it spends years growing where no one applauds. In much the same way, your unseen season may be producing strength that will support every blessing yet to come. Many people assume that waiting is the absence of progress, but waiting with God is often where the greatest transformation begins. Think about the moments in your own life when you learn the most. It probably weren't during the easiest seasons. Growth usually arrives through challenges, unanswered questions, and situations that force us to trust beyond what we can see. Those experiences stretch our faith in ways comfort never could. They teach patience when every instinct tells us to rush ahead. They develop wisdom when emotions encourage impulsive decisions. Most importantly, they remind us that our value has never depended on how quickly life unfolds, but on who we are becoming throughout the journey. One of the greatest misconceptions people carry is believing that purpose begins after reaching a particular destination. They convince themselves that life will truly start after finding the right relationship, landing the perfect job, or achieving a specific goal. Yet purpose rarely waits for ideal circumstances. It exists in every ordinary day, every quiet decision, and every opportunity to grow. Your present season is not an interruption to your calling. It is part of your calling. The lessons you learn today will shape the way you handle tomorrow's opportunities. The patience you practice now will become the strength that sustains future success. Nothing God allows into your life is wasted when you choose to trust Him. There are moments when closed doors feel like personal rejection, but time has a remarkable way of revealing that many disappointments were actually acts of protection. Looking back, you may remember opportunities you desperately wanted that never happened. At the time, they seemed like painful losses. Yet later you realize those very circumstances spared you from unnecessary heartache or led you toward something far better. Perspective changes everything. What once looked like delay eventually becomes evidence of divine wisdom. God often sees consequences long before we recognize possibilities. His guidance isn't based on temporary emotions, but on an eternal perspective that reaches beyond our understanding. Comparison has become one of the greatest thieves of peace. Every day, people compare their relationships, careers, finances, and achievements with those around them. Social media magnifies this temptation by presenting carefully selected highlights while hiding the struggles behind them. It's easy to believe everyone else is moving forward while you're standing still. Yet every person carries battles invisible to the outside world. Some smile while carrying heavy burdens. Others appear successful while quietly searching for purpose. The danger of comparison is that it distracts you from appreciating the unique path God has designed specifically for your life. No two callings are identical because no two people have been created with exactly the same mission. Faith grows strongest when circumstances provide little visible evidence to support hope. Anyone can trust when every prayer receives an immediate answer, but genuine faith continues believing, even when the outcome remains uncertain. It says, "I don't understand everything happening around me, but I trust the one who sees the entire picture." That kind of confidence doesn't develop overnight. It is built through countless moments of choosing trust over fear, gratitude over frustration, and hope over discouragement. Every small decision strengthens your spiritual foundation until eventually you discover that peace no longer depends on perfect circumstances. Sometimes God allows solitude not as punishment, but as preparation. Quiet seasons remove distractions that often keep us from recognizing His voice. Without constant noise, we begin noticing the subtle ways He guides our hearts. We discover strengths we never realized we possessed. Hidden talents emerge because we finally have the time and focus to develop them. Dreams that once seemed impossible begin taking shape as we invest energy into personal growth instead of constant comparison. Solitude becomes a classroom where confidence is built from within, rather than borrowed from the approval of others. Character always precedes lasting influence. Before someone is entrusted with greater responsibility, they usually experience seasons that test integrity, humility, and perseverance. Success without character often collapses under pressure because external achievement cannot replace internal strength. God is deeply interested in the condition of your heart because your character determines how faithfully you'll handle future blessings. A person who learns gratitude during scarcity will appreciate abundance differently. Someone who develops compassion through hardship will use influence to encourage others instead of seeking personal recognition. There is incredible freedom in understanding that your identity isn't determined by your relationship status, career title, or public achievements. Those things may change throughout life, but your worth remains constant because it originates from the one who created you. When you truly embrace this truth, insecurity begins losing its power. You stop chasing validation from people who cannot define your value. Instead, you live with quiet confidence, knowing that your life carries purpose regardless of the season you're currently walking through. Every sunrise reminds us that darkness never has the final word. No matter how long the night feels, morning always arrives. The same principle applies to seasons of uncertainty. They are temporary, even when they seem endless. God specializes in bringing hope into situations that appear impossible. He opens doors no one expected, restores hearts that seemed beyond healing, and creates opportunities from circumstances that once looked like dead ends. Your current chapter is not the conclusion of your story. It is simply another page in a much greater narrative that continues unfolding with every step of faith you choose to take. As you continue walking forward, remember that peace is not something you discover only after every prayer has been answered. Real peace is the quiet confidence that God is present even while the answers are still on their way. It is the ability to wake up each morning with gratitude instead of anxiety, trusting that every step you take is leading somewhere meaningful, even when you cannot yet see the destination. Life has a way of making us believe that certainty is necessary before we move forward, but faith often asks us to take the next step before the entire path is visible. That is where courage is born, not in having every answer, but in choosing to trust, despite the unanswered questions. Every season of life carries its own assignment. Some seasons are meant for planting, others for growing, and still others for harvesting. No farmer becomes discouraged because seeds do not become fruit overnight. He understands that growth happens beneath the surface long before it becomes visible above the ground. In the same way, God may be doing His greatest work in places no one else can see. While others notice only your circumstances, He is strengthening your patience, expanding your wisdom, and teaching you lessons that will remain with you for the rest of your life. These invisible victories are often the foundation for visible blessings later on. Perhaps there have been moments when disappointment tempted you to believe that your prayers were ignored. Maybe doors closed just when you thought they were about to open, or opportunities disappeared without explanation. Looking back on life, however, many people discovered that the greatest blessings often arrive through unexpected detours. What felt like failure became redirection. What appeared to be rejection became protection. What seemed like delay became perfect timing. God's plans are not limited by human expectations, and His ability to bring good from difficult circumstances is greater than our ability to predict the future. Never underestimate the value of becoming the person you are meant to be before receiving everything you desire. Success without wisdom can become overwhelming. Influence without humility can become destructive. Love without emotional maturity can become fragile. God often prepares people before He places them in positions where greater responsibility is required. That preparation may not always feel exciting, but it is always valuable. Every challenge you overcome today equips you to handle tomorrow with greater strength and greater confidence. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is learning to celebrate small victories. Too often, people overlook daily progress because they are focused only on major milestones. Yet every healthy decision, every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness, every prayer whispered in faith, and every step taken despite fear is evidence that you are moving forward. Progress is not always dramatic. Sometimes it appears as quiet consistency repeated over many months. The strongest foundations are built one brick at a time, not all at once. There will always be voices trying to convince you that your value depends on keeping pace with someone else's timeline. Resist that pressure. Your life was never designed to be an imitation of another person's story. God writes each life with unique purpose, unique experiences, and unique opportunities. What happens quickly for one person may take longer for another. Not because one is more loved than the other, but because every journey serves a different purpose. Trusting your own path frees you from unnecessary comparison and allows you to appreciate the blessings already present in your life. Gratitude has the remarkable ability to transform perspective. It does not ignore hardship, but it refuses to let hardship become the only thing you see. When you begin noticing the blessings that surround you each day, the gift of another sunrise, supportive friends, lessons learned through experience, opportunities to grow, and moments of unexpected peace, you discover that God has been faithful all along. Gratitude shifts attention away from what is missing and reminds you of everything that has already been provided. It creates room for hope to flourish even in uncertain seasons. Your future is not determined by your past mistakes. Every person carries memories they wish they could change, decisions they wish they had made differently, or seasons they wish they could relive. Yet God's grace is greater than every regret. He specializes in restoring what seems broken and creating beauty from situations that once appeared hopeless. The chapters behind you may explain where you've been, but they do not have the authority to define where you're going. Every new day offers another opportunity to walk forward with wisdom gained from experience instead of remaining trapped by yesterday's disappointments. As you continue growing, remember that true strength is not measured by the absence of struggle, but by the willingness to keep trusting through it. Strong people are not those who never face discouragement. They are those who continue believing after disappointment, continue loving after heartbreak, continue serving after criticism, and continue hoping after seasons of uncertainty. Their resilience comes from knowing that God walks beside them through every valley as faithfully as He does upon every mountaintop. Your words also carry tremendous influence. The conversations you have with yourself shape the direction of your thoughts. If you constantly repeat that you are forgotten, unworthy, or behind, those beliefs begin influencing your actions. But when you remind yourself that you are loved, created with purpose, capable of growth, and guided by God's wisdom, your perspective changes. Hope begins replacing fear. Confidence replaces insecurity. Faith becomes stronger than doubt. Speak to yourself with the same grace and encouragement that you would offer someone you deeply care about. Never lose sight of the impact your life can have on others. Sometimes the greatest testimony is not found in dramatic achievements, but in quiet faithfulness. Your perseverance may inspire someone else to keep going. Your kindness may restore hope to a discouraged heart. Your patience may become an example for someone facing their own difficult season. God often works through ordinary people who faithfully choose love, integrity, compassion, and courage in everyday moments. Never assume your life lacks significance, simply because your influence isn't always visible. When the opportunities you have been praying for finally arrive, receive them with humility and gratitude. Remember the lessons learned during quieter seasons. Remember the nights when faith was your only source of strength. Remember the moments when God carried you through situations you thought you would never overcome. Those memories will keep your heart grounded and remind you that every blessing is ultimately a gift of grace rather than personal achievement alone. And if today finds you standing at another crossroads, uncertain about what comes next, take comfort in this truth. You do not need to have every answer before taking the next faithful step. God has never required perfect understanding before asking someone to trust Him. He simply asks for a willing heart. As you continue moving forward, allow hope to become stronger than fear, gratitude stronger than disappointment, and faith stronger than uncertainty. Believe that your life still holds chapters you have not yet imagined, friendships you have not yet met, opportunities you have not yet discovered, and blessings you have not yet received. The same God who has sustained you through every challenge remains faithful today, and His plans for your future are still unfolding one step at a time. So lift your head, strengthen your heart, and continue walking with confidence. Your story is not ending where you are today. It is still being written, and the pages ahead hold possibilities far greater than anything fear could ever convince you to expect. Keep trusting, keep growing, keep serving, and keep believing, because every faithful step you take today is preparing you for tomorrow's purpose. And in the right time, you will look back and realize that every season, every lesson, every delay, and every unexpected turn was shaping you into the person God always intended you to become.